and welcome to Rolling with Two. I'm Will, and with me as always is Miss Twinkle Twinkle herself,
Sarah.
And today we're doing a two-player perspective and accessibility for Starry Night Sky. Now, if you want to see our review and opinion, check out Rolling with Reviews, Starry Night Sky. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right. In this game of celestial discovery, you'll explore the night sky with your trusty telescope. Each turn, move your telescope to locate new stars and map them onto constellations. As the constellations are fully mapped, it's easier to move to new places in the sky. Players earn points for the stars placed, completing exploration goals, and finishing the constellations in their endgame miss. The player with the most points at the end of the night wins. All right, well, so how does this game change for two players?
So use fewer discovery tiles, markers for saying which constellations get discovered. I believe it's something like 20 for two players, 22 for three players, and 24, plus an additional 4 for basically the overflow to make sure everybody has an equal number of turns.
Yeah, there's a track at the top of the board that has all these laid out.
Yes, or maybe it's the 20 includes the 4. There is no bot.
No.
There's not even like a Nana constellation.
I'm afraid not that I remember. No Nana constellation.
Oh, well. But that's pretty much the only change is the number of discovery markers that are used. Otherwise, everything else is the same.
Yep. So issues at a two-player game is this game actually kind of relies on player interaction in a positive way. But at two players, there's only, well, two players.
Yeah, what's really fun is as people spread out, it actually makes the whole night sky smaller. And it does this by, as things get finished, in other words, all the stars of a constellation are put out on the board, you would now treat that spot as a free move spot.
Right.
So with more players doing that, the whole board becomes easier to reach all different areas and people are doing stuff and overlapping. That possibly doesn't happen as much in a two-player game.
Right. And another aspect is with your end game goal myths, you could, in a higher player count, it's more likely someone else could finish a constellation for you. Because the nice thing about it is you don't have to be the one that completes it. It just needs to be completed.
Yeah. Should step back and say the end goal myths, each card will represent 2 specific constellations.
Right.
It'll say it by name, and it'll have a little map of the entire sky with like 3 rings to give you some sort of reference, and a little orange marker to show you where the 2 constellations are. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's what you have to complete if you want to score the points at the bottom of the card.
Which you really do, because everything in this game will score you points, so you need to be able to score more points than, well, everybody else. So going back to it, in a two-player game, especially in the games we've played, we kind of went in opposite directions. I think the first game we overlapped a little bit. Yeah. But in the second one, I went right. You went left. And
oh, you did a whole ton of overlapping, and I let you do all the heavy lifting while I covered the one difficult spot for me that you didn't need. You did all the heavy lifting. I barely did any work, and that made me win.
Okay, I think that covers the two-player experience.
Yes.
So, moving on to accessibility. So the board can get very crowded. I mean, you've got these 3 rings of constellations, and there's constellations between the rings, and each space is not all that large. Some of them are smaller than others, and you're putting stars, and you're putting telescopes, and you're putting the completion markers.
And you still have to follow the little dotted star path lines.
Yeah, and you still have to follow the line. So it just can be hard to parse information.
Yeah, but because just so busy now with all the splashes of color, added dimension, and things. And the telescopes aren't small. They're actually rather big.
Yeah, they are kind of big.
Yeah, so will take up a big chunk of the real estate on the board.
Right. Also, the names of the constellation are written on the board in different directions. Now, obviously, that is to help higher player count games. If you're sitting around a table, that means the names are written in ways that at least one person can read some of them. Yes. But for us, we're sitting always on the same side of the table, so it's just a little bit of a, I don't know, disadvantage.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, where's the loose thread? And she's like, I don't know. Where do you think it is? And then I go, kind of upper left.
Right.
And that kind of defeats the whole purpose of keeping like my myth cards secret.
So when you're first learning your first couple of games, learning where things are will take you a little bit of time. But as you become more familiar with the game and where things are, it will become easier. And you'll be able to start recognizing things just from the picture of the constellation than necessarily needing to find the name of it. We are not sure the stars and or the telescopes may not be colorblind friendly. We did show them to a couple of friends, and at least through, pictures online, they said they didn't have any problems, but there are stars that are red and blue, and then...
Which is why you're showing the picture.
Right. And then the telescopes do have some weird shades of blue, lighter green, and then a kind of red and yellow. So they're not the normal bold colors, which is nice. But we weren't sure if those might be an issue. Also, round cards are very hard to shuffle. That's just, I think it's kind of neat thematically that the exploration cards are round, but they're not the easiest to shuffle.
Yeah.
But what it does right, the myth cards are easy, and even Will can understand the diagrams.
Yeah. In fact, that's what helped me tell Sarah what I needed help with on the map, because I could so easily determine where things were based on the myth cards.
Right.
And it definitely helped the fact that they spell out what constellations and their names I'm looking for.
Right. So they're very clear. You're not having to guess at anything, and they help orient you to the map.
Yeah.
As much as the exploration cards are not easy to shuffle, they are very easy to read. Good contrast, good font. There's no iconography in the game at all.
Yeah, everything's spelled out.
Right. So it's not like you're reading a sentence and all of a sudden there's literally a blue star in the middle of the sentence. I'm really glad they didn't do that, because there are games that would do that.
Yeah, no, if it has a blue star, it says blue star.
Yeah, it uses the words.
And it doesn't colorize the words.
I know. I like that. I always complain. It's like there's this penchant for if a word is about a color, they put that word in that color. And I'm like, that makes it can be very, especially yellow, would be very hard to read. So I'm grateful that they didn't change the font color when they got to a word for a color.
Yeah. And if you're the type of person that wants to have that happen, how about this? How about underline that word in the color?
Yeah.
But still leave the color its normal black font or whatever the font is for all the other words.
Right. And then lastly, the game is mostly open information. So
the myth cards are
the
not.
myth cards are not. But we found everything being so open information and this being a relatively straightforward kind of game. Nothing was too overly complex other than just finding your way around the star map.
Yes.
So that's it. Conclusion.
For 2 players.
It's going to be to taste. So if you're okay with the low player interaction, then you'll be good with this game. And if not, well, then not.
Yes. I totally agree. Accessibility.
The board is probably going to be the biggest obstacle for learning where things are. And when everything gets filled up, finding things from there is going to be challenging. Otherwise, everything else is really well done.
Yeah, the board is probably the most foreign thing, because there's no... Yes, the starting spot is in the middle, but it's not left to right, top to bottom, or anything like that. It just kind of goes out in sort of spheres. But not even... Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not even that straightforward, because some, like you said, go between... circles
the rings,
and it's hard to parse. However, with repeated plays, I will say the accessibility becomes less of an issue for that. It's more of learning it and playing your first few games where the most difficulty comes with the accessibility for it.
Agreed.
All right. And Sarah,
yes,
do you have a favorite constellation in this game?
If I could remember what any of them were, probably. I just really liked that they were not real constellations and that they were cute and or funny, depending. What about you?
I think it's the evocative, was it the dancer or the performer? It's in the upper left.
Yeah.
But it was very evocative.
There you go.
And why would you ever roll with just one when you can be
rolling with 2?
If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with Two, that's TWO. We're on Blue Sky, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Discord, we have a channel on Tabletop Express. Check the show notes for the invite link.
If you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you, because remember, he's rolling with you.